So, the Sega Saturn. Everyone talks about how the Sega Saturn was a huge flop in the US, and that one of the reasons for failure was that it didn't have a proper 3D Sonic game and whatever. But I'm not here to talk about the Saturn specifically. I'm going to talk about one of the Saturn's landmark games. No, not Nights into Dreams. No, not Panzer Dragoon. No, not Sonic Jam's Sonic World segment. Sonic R. Wait, hear me out here. Sonic R really isn't that bad. Just let me explain. While the ill-fated Sonic Extreme was in rather extreme development hell, Sega reached out to Traveler's Tales, who you may know as the developers of the LEGO games and Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex later on, to develop a few Sonic games. The first of these was Sonic 3D Blast, which first released on the Genesis and was later ported to the Saturn when Sonic Extreme finally fell under. The next of these games, and the last if I recall right, was Sonic R. It was meant to be the definitive Sonic racer after the negative responses to the Sonic Drift games on the Game Gear. It also did a good job showing off some of the Sega Saturn's technical capabilities at the time, which I'll briefly get to later. Here's the problem though. The game was kinda rushed out for the holidays and didn't have all the planned features it was supposed to have. Kinda sounds like a familiar business choice, right? This was remedied, however, when the PC version arrived about a year or so later and added the missing promised features, although there weren't that many to begin with. This version was later ported to the GameCube and PS2 with the Sonic Gems collection, which is the version I'll be looking at, because I don't have a Sonic R CD for the PC, or a Saturn and respected copy of the game. While I will admit that Saturn emulation is really looking up lately, thanks mostly to the new RetroArch core, it still isn't perfect. So GameCube ahoy! Sonic R actually has a small story in its manual. The World Grand Prix is going on, and Eggman finds out about it when he realizes the Chaos Emeralds are on the tracks. Tails tells Sonic about the race while they and Knuckles are on vacation, and Sonic just shrugs it off until he finds out Eggman is in the race. That convinces him to enter, with Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, who had followed Sonic to the vacation spot, entering alongside him. That's about it though, as the game itself is purely a racing game, and a small one at that. 4 characters are available right away out of 10, and there are 5 tracks total: Resort Island, Radical City, Regal Ruin, Reactive Factory, and Radiant Emerald, the latter of which is unlocked after beating the first 4 tracks. That's kinda abysmal. Mario Kart 64, the other racer in the market, had 16 tracks. Crash Team Racing even had around, 17 tracks? So 5 in comparison to 16? Sonic R is not winning too many points in the amount of content here. Before we talk about the specifics of the characters, let's talk about the controls in general. And boy, do I have things to say about it. The entire game feels slippery. There's, almost no precision at all. Sonic and company accelerate when you either hold up or press the run button. Moving backwards, however, is not possible, as pressing down, if you're Sonic, Tails, or Knuckles, makes your character duck, and if you're moving, you roll into a ball. Though by doing this, you can spin dash by pressing the button repeatedly while ducking. The run button, I mean. Next, turning left and right. Oh, jeez, how do I explain this? Here we go. Do you guys remember Toontown Online? I know, weird game to bring up, but the control scheme specifically. In that game, you can only move forwards and backwards, and turning is a bit slow, moving diagonally is a bit wait, I just thought of a better example. Bubsy 3D, the terrible controls in that game. Take those, make it a little more unresponsive, and you got Sonic R. The characters turn so slowly, you'll often find yourself using the L and R buttons to drift during tight turns, because there is no way you're making it otherwise. Even then, you're basically controlling bumper cars as you get through the stage. The characters even make bumper car-like noises when they eventually crash into each other. Oh! Hey, thanks for the boost, Knuckles. And if you have to come to a complete stop, which sometimes you'll have to do for reasons later on, that's a bit convoluted too. Either you let yourself go, let the controls go, just making your character casually slow down, or you brake by holding both L and R together. But good luck turning around and losing 5 to 10 seconds of your race, leaving time for your opponents, however slow they may have been compared to you, to catch up. Now for the characters. The 4 characters you get from the start are Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. Sonic is the fastest of these initial characters and has a double jump, but he doesn't have very good handling. Tails can't turn well, but has good acceleration and is able to fly for a short period of time, like in the standard games. Well, kinda. It's sort of like Sonic Adventure 2, Tails in the Child Garden. He doesn't gain any altitude, but he remains in the air for a little bit. Knuckles is the most well-rounded character with the ability to glide for a bit in the air, like in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Amy, oh boy. Unlike the other characters except Eggman, Amy doesn't run on foot. She drives a car, somewhat similar to her car in Sonic Drift, I think. She is the slowest character in the game, unless you use her boost ability, which you can only experience between 10 seconds in between each time. And that's basically the only means of going fast for Amy, and she becomes even harder to control while doing this, so heads up. And now, for the unlockable characters. How do you unlock them? Good question! Each track has 5 Sonic coins scattered around it, which is one of the reasons the tracks are so expansive. They're big so that you can veer off the main path and explore for stuff, which I really like. It also opens up a bunch of shortcuts for expert players to take. Anyway, if you grab all 5 coins and still make it to 3rd place or better, you can face off against one of 4 of the unlockable characters. In Resort Island, you can unlock Metal Sonic. He is quite a bit faster than Sonic, but he doesn't have a double jump, instead having a single high jump. He also is able to float for a short period of time over water, but he eventually loses speed before sinking into the water. Tails Doll is unlocked in Radical City, tied for 3rd slowest character with Egg Robo, after Eggman and Amy. But it does have one advantage, that being it can hover over, well, anything, including water. That's about all Tails Doll has going for it. His jump is like the worst thing ever. Egg Robo is unlocked in Regal Ruin. He can't do squat, except fly over water for a brief period of time. Like, really brief. About a 1/4 of the time that Metal Sonic gets. Metal Knuckles is unlocked in Reactive Factory. Metal Knuckles is basically just like Metal Sonic, except he has a hover, sort of like Knuckles' glide. Metal Knuckles is the last of the characters to be unlocked by collecting Sonic coins, because Radiant Emerald doesn't have any. So there are 2 left. Dr. Eggman is then unlocked after winning 1st place in every track. That's right, you have to be the very best to unlock Eggman. Is it worth it? Not really. Eggman is the 2nd slowest character in the game after Amy. However, he does have a missile attack he can use to slow other characters in front of him down, at the cost of 10 rings. But I've tried it multiple times and it just doesn't work. So, for the last character. Before we get into that, let's get into the Chaos Set. Who am I kidding? As soon as I said that, you guessed it already. Supersonic. He's the fastest character in the game and has the best control, double jump and everything, though figuring out that control can be difficult. But if you master him, oh geez, Supersonic is broken as all heck. Oh, Supersonic can also run indefinitely on water, even though he does lose a little bit of speed while doing so. You can mitigate that by repeatedly jumping. Alright, back to the process of getting the Chaos Emeralds. Ugly. So you thought finding all the Sonic coins was tough? Guess what? Chaos Emeralds are much worse. Resort Island has 1, the others have 2, except for Radiant Emerald. What you normally have to do to get them is collect a crap ton of rings, because the doors that the emeralds are behind usually require 50 rings per entrance. Once you have 1 or both of the emeralds, some of which require sitting and waiting to get, you have to finish in 1st place to actually get them. 1st place. The Sonic coins are lenient in the way that you only have to finish in 3rd to race against a new character, but for a Chaos Emerald, you have to be the very best like no one ever was to collect it, or them, and finish in 1st place. That is asking a lot. I mean, if you know the tracks well enough, you can pull it off. But I'm gonna lay out some tips here. How I usually play through the game is I go through as Sonic, just focus on collecting all the Chaos Emeralds, get Supersonic, then go back in all the tracks, and using Supersonic, collect all of the Sonic coins. Supersonic is so fast and broken that you'll be way ahead of the crowd and will have more than enough time to grab those things to get back on the main path, and be able to get in 1st place. Then as well, character races will be a flipping joke. especially in the case of characters like Tails doll. I'm a fool. Look at this, I went a full lap ahead of this poor fellow. But once you have all the characters, you're faced with a bit of a dilemma. Character choices for the AI. Here's the rundown. If you select any of the initial characters, those being Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and Eggman, you race against the remainder of the initial characters. If you select any unlockable character, you'll have to race against the others that you have unlocked, with any missing slots going back to an initial character. If you pick Metal Sonic or anybody besides Super Sonic and you have Super Sonic unlocked, you're going to race against Super Sonic. So I feel really sorry for anyone who loves playing as Tails doll. Well, I felt sorry for you to begin with, but anyway. Sonic R also supports multiplayer. In the original Saturn version, up to 2 players could be supported because there were only 2 control ports, but in the GameCube version, up to 4 players are possible. And I think the PC version allowed for up to 4 local players as well as some online support down the road. It's really just standard Sonic R at that point. You grab your buddies, you pick your characters, choose your stage, and whoever finishes first in 3 laps wins. There's nothing more to it. Sonic R does support some trial modes as well, like standard 3-lap time trials, as well as the reverse, but there's also 2 other modes, balloon hunting and character tagging. Balloon hunting involves you scouring the entire track looking for balloons and seeing how fast you can grab them all. Look in places other than where the Sonic coins are though, and seriously, good flipping luck. I spent like 5 minutes in this course looking for all the balloons, because actually, it kind of reminds me of Knuckles' stages in Sonic Adventure 2. Only one shows up at a time, but unlike Adventure 2, you have no lead as to where they are. Like, I spent so flipping long in this stage looking for 5 balloons. Ugh, I'd rather play Adventure 2's Knuckles stages, and that is saying a heck of a lot. Character tagging, or as I like to call it, literal Sonic bumper cars, pits you with the goal of bumping into 4 of the characters who will be roaming the track. Be careful though, as the characters can somehow turn completely around and go the other way. Seriously, why can't I do that? But yeah, bump all 4 characters and the timer stops. In this scenario, I can't come up with a good segue, so let's just talk about the music for a second. Instead of funky rhythms or awesome beats like in the regular Sonic games, we have an electropop soundtrack composed by Richard Jacques, who I only really know for doing the soundtracks for this game and the Saturn version of 3D Blast. But I think he helped out with Generations soundtrack too. This game's soundtrack is very hit or miss with people. Either people absolutely love it, or absolutely can't stand it. I'm the former. I love this soundtrack. I know it doesn't really fit well with, well, racing, because most of the songs, and by that I mean all of them except one, and you know which one it is, have some sort of romantic or lovey element in it somewhere. Yes, even Work It Out. But the songs are really good. I know Can You Feel the Sunshine is the butt of Sonic memes these days, but really, all of these songs are worth listening to. Oh, the vocal ones anyway. The rest of the jingles and the options music are either uninteresting or straight from Saturn 3D Blast.
As far as Sonic R goes though, that's about it. It's quite literally a bare-bones racing game with an awesome soundtrack and some nice elements of exploration and tension in it. The tension, of course, coming from doing anything besides getting to the finish line. However, the Saturn version, as I mentioned before, was rushed and not all of the promised features ended up being put into the game. Also, word got out that there was supposed to be a battle mode for multiplayer similar to Mario Kart, among other things that didn't make the cut for any version. The PC version, however, did add at least 1 or 2 new features and enhancements to the original game, so the Saturn and PC versions of Sonic R differ, and I'm just saying this now, the PC and GameCube versions are exactly the same, but how much do those 2 versions differ? Let's begin with actually, that's really the only difference, graphics. So, the biggest difference in graphics here is, of course, the draw distance. The Saturn was not able to render as many polygons as the top-tier PC at the time. However, for shorter draw distances, the Saturn and the PC actually do add a nice faded effect at polygons. For the Saturn, that was pretty dang impressive, though the PC was able to do that much better. Well, the only track where it doesn't do that is Radiant Emerald, and I'll get to that in a moment. As far as lighting goes, I think the Saturn version has a higher contrast, giving blues a higher hue and so forth. They look deeper in the PC version, and honestly not very realistic. Take a look at the water. Yeah, the reflection effect is there in every version, though it looks worse on PC, but the Saturn version also has a transparent texture on the water surface itself. That texture is absent in the PC version, the only thing left is the reflection. The PC version added the ability to change the draw distance. There are 4 different levels you can set it to in-game, but if you use a hex editor, you can set it to the absolute maximum, where nothing is cold and you can see the entire track. The Gems version has the draw distance maxed out and you can't change it. So then, the basic presentation. So there are 2 main themes I'm going to cover, weather effects and Radiant Emerald. Sonic R on the Saturn was originally going to have dynamic and customizable weather effects, but because the game was rushed, something Sega really needs to stop doing, that feature wasn't implemented. Though when the game reached PC, they got it implemented. There are 5 different weather settings and 2 effects. Sunny, which is the only one on the Saturn, sunset, overcast, night, and snowy, and it's either able to rain or snow. When it snows, the snowy setting is always set, and the water freezes over, allowing all characters to run on it. This is the only change that affects gameplay though, and if you don't change any settings, the snowy settings sometimes appear because the default setting is random. And there's one more thing to look at here, Radiant Emerald. The track undergoes a different special effect based on the platform. So, remember how I said it's only Radiant Emerald that the track doesn't fade in? That's because in the Saturn version, the track is transparent, like you can see the background through the track, and it has a diffused shiny texture overlapping the track. Now that is cool. When the game came to PC, for some reason they couldn't pull this effect off, so the game opted instead to have Radiant Emerald pulse different colors seamlessly while making the track solid. Both effects are really nice, but Sonic R really did show what the Saturn was capable of in terms of graphics. I mean, not that RetroArch is able to give a clear demonstration of that yet. The PlayStation was considered to have better 3D, but seriously, the Saturn was a great contender to 3D. Sonic R was a good example of this. Seriously, why did Sonic 3D Blast have to be the main platforming title anyway? Actually, I'll add one more thing in real quick. Some of the sound effects are switched in the Saturn version, such as menu switching being the rain sound and going back being a brake sound. As well, the Gems collection has major volume issues. Sound effects are way too loud and almost hurt my ears.
There's nothing for me to do. Feel the sunshine too.
In conclusion, Sonic R isn't exactly the best racing game out there, especially when looking at the controls and the amount of content, but I will be honest, I do like the exploration factor in the game. I know for some parts I sounded really negative during the review, but you'll notice I made a lot of positive points as well. Having the stages as big as they are allowed for well-put placements of the collectibles, and while it is annoying to get the Chaos Emeralds at times, and those stinking balloons, once you learn the places, you can breeze through the game in less than an hour. If you want to play with friends though, stick to any character except the following: Amy, Eggman, Tails Doll, Egg Robo, or Supersonic. As long as you abide by that rule, I'm sure you'll have a fun time. I played through the game mostly as Sonic, but I also gave tries to Tails and Knuckles for this review, and most of the time it's actually pretty fun experimenting with the other characters. I'll probably be playing as Knuckles more often actually. So, I have a bit of a confession to make. I am already ditching the percentage system I established in the Hyperbole review, and I'm deciding to just not score games. The review and game footage will really speak for themselves. So, take my review as it is, but don't let it influence you if you legitimately want to try Sonic R for yourself. It's in Sonic Gems collection. It's possible you'll probably be able to find a PC or Saturn copy as well. It's out there somewhere, so go find it. And if you like it, good for you. I actually might put this in my list of guilty pleasure games myself. I wish I could get some friends to play this with though. Anyways, thank you for watching, have a nice day, and happy Sonic R-ing? That really doesn't work, does it? Let's try this. Happy Supersonic Racing! Yeah, nailed it!
Will always know.